I have been accused perhaps of drinking a little bit too much coffee at work these days.
A little bit. We're working on it, and when we're ready, insiders will be the first to know.
Our customers absolutely lean into Windows superpowers when it comes to customization and personalization.
Light mode or dark mode?
Light mode.
Dark mode, no question.
What's a hobby people would be surprised to know you have?
I feel like people will be surprised to know that I have a hobby. I'm going to read the question out, Marcus, so you can page this whole thing into disk.
I think we're on a roll.
Okay, good. All right.
I feel good.
What's your take on the cup of coffee? What would you rate it?
Where I am is it all kind of tastes the same. I'm on the caffeine scale, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. Pretty good.
Hello and welcome to Inside Windows. I'm Pavan. I lead the Windows and Devices team here at Microsoft. Inside Windows is a new podcast we're kicking off to give you more insight into the work and the people behind Windows. I'm an engineer at heart, so naturally, my first instinct was to focus on the work rather than talk about it. So this is a little new for me. We thought this would be a great way to stay connected with the people who care most about Windows. In March, I wrote a letter to the Windows Insider community sharing our commitment to Windows quality. This is our first episode. We want to talk about the progress we're making. The format for the show will be simple. I will sit down with someone from the team, we get to drink some coffee, and share what's top of mind and the progress we've made. We'll also answer some questions sourced directly from the community thanks to the help of the Windows Social team. Let's get to it. For our first guest, I'd like to introduce Marcus Ashe, who leads our design and research team for the Windows and Devices organization. Marcus has also taken on an expanded role leading our Windows Insider program engagements. Welcome to the show, Marcus. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Bob. It's great to be here.
Maybe we should start with just a little bit of introduction, share a little bit about your work here at Microsoft.
Yeah, so first, I run the overall user experience for Windows and Windows Cloud. So pixels we draw on the screen, the user experience of those pixels, the research that we do behind that. And then I also get a chance to run the industrial design team. So our Surface and Xbox teams, we've combined so we get all the thinking that comes from running a consolidated studio. Been at Microsoft 26 years, pretty much my whole career.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as starting as a young teenager, but I know I've been here a while. Two things about this role that drive me. One is I had a chance to work on Windows Phone.
Yep.
So I was the product leader for...
I remember watching it work in those days.
The start experience and some other things. And that was the first time where I felt like we built a product that people loved. And love doesn't always mean agree. We got a lot of opinions. We got a lot of people that said we should be doing this or that. But it created this momentum around, if we're proud of what we build, and we have a community that's proud of it, boy, do you achieve something that really feels truly great. Yep. That's one. Then the other is this idea of craft. Like I love to work on things that are functional and beautiful, that really represent the passion that someone puts in their team, and you feel that when you use it. And in our first conversation about this role, I remember we vibed on that. Like we talked about Surface and your journey. We talked about my journey, and I felt like, man, this is a place that I want to be. Because if there's one product where I think we can apply that to, it's going to be Windows and all the stuff.
I could not agree more. I think the impact that the design team and the research team has in the collective product making journey that we are on, from pixels on the screen to silicon and devices, and the thought process we apply across the entire life cycle of use of the product, it is truly exciting to see the work that your team does and the impact that they have on our collective install and product base. So I think we should just jump right into it then.
Sounds great.
I feel like one of the big things for us right now is the progress we're making since we talked about this in March. And one of the first things I think that's worth noting for ourselves, which was huge for our collective team, was changes that we made to the Windows Insider program itself. It felt like one of the big places where we're getting feedback was around just simplifying the channel structures in themselves, reducing the friction for people to move between channels, having clarity in the features that we were delivering to those channels, making it easier for folks to opt in, opt out, choose all the features they wanted to go try. It felt like a place of meaningful improvement, real value to our folks on the Insider community. Is there anything you'd like to add, or maybe just get started for us in that space?
Yeah, in our first meetup, we talked about this.
That's
and
right.
I think it really signaled to people we are acting on the feedback, and we're acting first for our insiders because we want you to have a program that you know how to get into, that you know how to get out of. We also announced that you can switch on the features that you want when you get in a specific branch.
Yep.
We know that was feedback.
Yep, we heard that loud and clear.
So that really set the tone for, we're not just talking, we're actually delivering, and now you're going to see us do more of that. So that work, I think, really sets us up to now do the things we're doing with Start and Taskbar and all the other things. When we say a thing, we do a thing.
Actually get going. The other big one, at least that pops for me, is Windows Update itself.
Yep.
I think Windows Update is important to us because we want to keep our PCs secure and performant, but at the same time, it can feel like it's getting in the way when it is not done well. And so it feels like the work on Windows Update to have updates happen in a fashion that puts more control back to the end users themselves was an important thing for us. Is there anything there that's worth highlighting?
The word control. In the insider community, this idea that, hey, I want to be in control of my experience.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that something is bad. It means I want to configure it the way that makes sense for me. That's this idea
Absolutely.
that I come to Windows because I can do things, I can configure things. And I think we've really leaned into that as one of the central messages for how we build out the features that you listed on the blog initially and how we're going to continue to think about the value prop of Windows.
The third big one, I think, for us was the work around taskbar and Start customization. Felt like a thing that we had heard for a period of time. It took us a little bit of time as an engineering team to make sure we were doing enough rigorous design thinking and engineering execution, obviously, against it. Do you want to share a little bit about where we are in progress when it comes to taskbar and search? I loved the post from Diego from your team earlier.
Yeah, and this is going to be a theme. When we have something that we feel like we put thought into, we want to share our thinking and our design process and all the work that's gone into that. Taskbar, in particular, is this place, which you and I have noticed in the insider events.
Yep.
Everyone's different. And it's hard to capture that with just one set of defaults. It's also hard as Windows with 1 billion customers to look at things that you might think are in the tail. This is an enthusiast thing. This is a power user thing. Well, that's part of our community. And I think
Correct.
we've come to this realization together and with the team that we need to do those features because those features are established to how I've used Windows for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And reflecting on it with the taskbar design, I think sets us up to think harder about that in the future. And then we looked at Start and said, well, we want the default to be great, but if you don't want recommendations, if you don't want pins, if you don't want the all apps list, have at it. Like we want to give you the choice to do that. So
this was a great learning. I think to your point, you've done now several insider meetups, and I think what was really both empowering, inspiring, and kind of really humbling to see at the same time was the extent to which our customers absolutely lean into Windows superpowers when it comes to customization and personalization. And you are right, the actual percentages of people in various configurations in an individual sense might individually be small, but when you add them up, the permutations and degrees and options that people rely on for the product is quite empowering. In fact, it's awesome to see. So I'm deeply grateful for the work there. I think it's meaningful for us to get going and make progress. Another thing that I thought was good progress for us, especially in the last week or so, was us showing up at WinHack. I think we did our first WinHack session in about 8 years in Taipei last week. We had a meetup there as well that you hosted. It was great for me to see the energy, and I very much lean into the idea that Windows as a product is delivered through an ecosystem of partners. There's no one company that delivers a Windows device to our customers. And given that reality, it requires us to be great with our ecosystem partners and making sure our layers of the system stack, celebrate the capabilities of what the product can do. I'm curious to just hear your thoughts and observations from WinHack and maybe the meetup that you had down there as well.
So I had a chance to watch the keynote. And I think the thing I was struck by, when you talk about tens of thousands of drivers and partners and IHVs, you can forget the scale that we operate on.
Yep.
And that's a promise of configurability, choice, all the things Windows has gone over so many years. It's also a challenge for us because how do you build a coherent product? How do you make sure the user experience is good? And how do you explain it? Some things take time. Why? Because we're working completely across the stack, not just the shell and the apps, but all the way down to the drivers and the kernel. So it was really good to see us frame that narrative for our closest partners that want to be on this journey with us because Windows is at its best when it's part of an ecosystem. And I felt that in the keynote. And then that went right into the insider event where We had our largest number of insiders that came. We had a spectrum of people from, hey, I'm an IHV that was hanging out. And then we had a 17-year-old student who came and showed me his Windows device that he was so proud of. He was running Windhawk and he was configuring things and he was so excited about it.
Goes back to the point on customization.
Exactly. Like we see people just light up when they feel like this is mine. Like I made this.
Absolutely.
And I am so grateful that we get a chance to experience those customer moments, because it's hard to do that in a survey. It's hard to do that. You really need to be in front of somebody. And I think we both experienced that in the insider events.
And what's beautiful there is how global that same notion is. And so whether it's here in the US or in other parts of the world, I think we get the same sort of sentiment when it comes to their attachment to the product, the device, and the experience of Windows. It's kind of amazing. And I was really grateful for the work from our team for doing the work around driver quality initiative. I think it is a place where the end user experience comes down to a bunch of components in Windows. Some of the operating system and some are driver components that are important to us across the ecosystem. I was also really happy to see the reception for the push for better driver quality from our partners in themselves. There's, I think, a real desire on their part to do better, and we're able to find a way to channel that energy and make sure it's productive with the collective, effort across Windows. I think we're able to bring more value to end users. So I was really glad to see the driver initiative landing.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important part of, we don't think of this work that we've kicked off as Microsoft's. We think of it as
Correct.
the
It's an
ecosystem. And we keep coming
Absolutely.
back to, they're just as excited as we are to improve the quality of Windows and the craft of Windows. And I think we've opened the door by doing these events and sharing with people plans that they can go act on.
Yeah. Another thing I thought that was really good for us in terms of actually taking customer feedback and making sure we were responding to it was the work around newsfeed and widgets. I think a lot of your design tenets, Mark, is around a Calmer OS construct, and I know your team did a bunch of work around top level things that we were hearing, and then some deeper level places where we thought we could help, give ourselves gains in productivity. I don't know if there's anything there that you want to highlight for us.
Yeah, it's another thing we talk about, calm. When I first turn on Windows or I first get on that desktop after I've gone through Ubi, we want people to feel calm. We want them to feel like, oh, somebody thought about where all these things go. Yeah. And then you can customize. So widgets was a classic example of that. At first, widgets, newsfeed combined with widgets, it's just overwhelming.
Sure.
So now your widgets are there. We have a few. They're beautiful. You can see the weather. Correct. You can go to that newsfeed and figure out, do you want it? Can you personalize it? And I think that's the approach that we're now using in a principled way to go across other areas in the operating system and in the shell. Then the other thing about widgets is there's hidden but deep performance and reliability work and memory work.
Correct.
And I think this is the thing that I've learned. The UX gets a lot of the X/visibility, but level. I don't think people realize the most of our engineers are working below the water level. Like they're really working on the things that hold us up. The reliability of widgets and the improvements we made there, making them faster, reducing the overall amount of memory.
Piece. Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's the other piece of this that I just find I keep reminding myself that when you have a great experience, it's because there's so many other things that this team works on.
Has to pull together.
And
the beautiful thing is, I think we're just sort of getting started. I'm very excited. We have Computex coming up and we have Build, and I think it's an opportunity for us to start continuing to, maintain momentum on the things that we're doing, but also bring some meaningful new capabilities, experiences, and value in the notion of quality and craft that we're doing to our developer community as well, which is going to be super exciting, I think. All right, we're going to transition to the next part of our episode here. We have a couple of questions sourced from our Windows Social team from across the community, and Marcus and I are going to do our best to answer those questions.
Right. So this is a good example of a feature that we love, that we would love to do, but
I would love to see this feature.
We would love to see it. We all use it on our phones, but we got to get it right on the PC and all the variations that we experience. Sure. Until we can do it end to end with full stack quality, we're just not ready yet. We're working on it, and when we're ready, insiders will be the first to know. But first, we set the bar for fundamentals to do a feature like this. The other thing that comes to mind here is dark theme itself and really completing the thought on the work to make it even better. So both things are true. And
Great.
when we're ready,
So get our consistency done, get our fundamentals pieces together, and go, deliver new delighters like he has out
That's
there.
right.
It's great. This is such a great question because I do think memory is top of mind for us right now in the industry, especially as we look at the rising costs of memory for computers across the board. For us as a Windows team, we have clear efforts around driving better utilization of memory, and I think that is a statement of the operating system itself. You mentioned core kernel components earlier, including the memory manager in Windows, and we're also going to do work when it comes to efficiency of frameworks that live on top of Windows, so that both apps and the OS get more efficient inside the device. So we do definitely have work when it comes to compressing memory and making sure we're more efficient on the platform. And the second part of the question around AI options, I think we're in a place where we're going to give customers better choice and end user control around AI and capability. And I think that will contribute to where people have value, they will continue to utilize and take advantage of it. And where they don't, they will get the performance and efficiency gains they need.
Yeah, and I would add the scenario-based approach we're taking with widgets and File Explorer, and those teams are going deep. They're really trying to figure out, for a given scenario, how do I improve memory efficiency is another thing that we've been working
That's
on.
right. And so you only take the memory cost as in when you use the capability. Otherwise, the base system gets a little bit more efficient across the board.
An area that we've chosen to focus on is WinUI 3, and being able to have that framework over time go and look selectively at places in the operating system where we can modernize the UI. But we're starting with a very scenario-focused approach. We start with run. We start with the common dialogues that we see in places like File Explorer.
Yes.
And then that creates a good cycle for us. We've done it in a few places. We've got our tools and automation in places where we can do more places, and then you'll see us keep making progress over time.
Correct. And I think our mechanism there, our method really is to focus on surfaces and places of usage that have high impact to our customers, get the return there, and then we continue to scale out from
Yeah,
there.
and then put that back into the WinUI 3 mechanism, put that back into the platform, put that back into the tooling, and we get into this really nice
keep building
cycle.
the virtuous cycle. I think File Explorer is uniquely one of our big focus areas when you think about the craft and quality work that we're doing in Windows going forward. What I love with this question is also the Surface Pro 11 part of it. I think when we envisioned Surface Pro and tablets, we were kind of focused on the idea of multimodality of inputs, touch, pen, voice, obviously inking. And I think this is a place where we will continue to make progress. I think we will start with the fundamentals of File Explorer and make it more responsive. And once we have that on a durable basis, we will make feature enhancements to File Explorers by way of experiences. And I think touch and inking are both top of mind for us as we think about improvements going forward. The idea of having driver updates as a part of Windows Update in itself is something that we think about and we work on closely, I would say, with our ecosystem partners, from silicon partners to the variety of providers across the hardware components in themselves. It's a great thought, and I think it's something that we would like to deliver through our end customer value propositions through Windows Update, where we can simplify, like you mentioned, get it down to a single click. That does require us to be able to deliver these updates in a robust fashion. It requires us to make sure that we're doing this in partnership with the entire ecosystem, and that we don't add more complexity to our end users by having multiple channels for updates that may or may not simplify the end user experience. But I very much love the push of having Windows Update continue to be one place for customers to go to get their end-to-end updates and not have to think about the various parts of Windows in our ecosystems. So bring back 3D Pinball. It's such a great reminder. People love games in Windows, and we have such an amazing catalog on Windows, from casual games all the way to AAA titles. We've had a great history in Windows of having games in box as well, and noted on 3D Pinball. We'll add that into the matrix for things to think about,
Cool.
for sure. Okay, so now to the part of the show that I take really seriously, Marcus. Coffee.
Yes, of course.
I think I have been accused perhaps of drinking a little bit too much coffee at work these days.
A little bit.
We have some lovely coffee. You and I were sipping some Herkimer coffee from the Seattle area. I'm curious, what's your take on the cup of coffee? What would you rate it?
Okay, we're going to take a sip. My coffee rating is not very sophisticated because it's more about caffeine content.
So you're into the efficiency bucket.
The efficiency bucket, I can't really taste the difference. But I would say on the caffeine content, That's a solid 8. You know, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Excellent.
Quite a bit of this stuff during our podcast.
It is a good cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, I enjoyed it as well. I would give it an 8. I feel like I could taste the cinnamon. I could have multiple cups of this coffee through the course of a day. So it feels great to me too. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Marcus, for being here today. It was great to get our first episode of Inside Windows going. Grateful for your time. Really appreciate the work that you and the collective team do for us in the world of Windows. Thank you for engaging our Windows Insider community.
Yeah, thank you, Pavan.
Appreciate you all listening, and thank you.
Thanks, everybody.